This episode of Express Training Bites is brought to you by Promo Corner. Are you looking to support a sales campaign and reach a larger audience? Raise your brand awareness with content sponsorships. For more information, reach out to sales@promocorner.com. This is Express Training Bites. I am Brandon Petrich, the digital media director from Promo Corner. And with me today, we have the delivery man of all that is marketing joy, Mr. Kirby Hasseman. Thank you so much for being here, Kirby.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I always love talking to you, and I always enjoy doing stuff like this. So thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. So you guys, we're in for a big one today. He's got 5 steps to grow your personal brand. So if you do have any questions while he's going through the steps, go ahead and put them in the message box right over there on the side. I will be monitoring it and get to them near the end. So Kirby, go ahead and take it away.
Okay. So, I'm going to talk today about building your personal brand. The reality of it is, I think most people understand that personal brand really does matter. And if you don't, I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to make this really quick about why personal brand matters, and then the 5 steps on how you can build a personal brand. I'm going to go through this really, really quick and try and leave time for questions. This is a presentation I've given in an hour form and an hour and a half form. So I'm going to do this in like 15, 20 minutes. We'll make it really quick and then leave time for questions at the end. So for those of you who don't know, this is Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk is one of my idols, I guess I could say. He is an icon in the social media and marketing space. And he talks about why personal brand matters. And it's because attention is the new currency. If you want to sell something, if you want to promote something, if you want to tell your story, you need to have people's attention. And the world today is more noisy than it's ever been. We know this, right? So it's harder and harder to break through. And the way that you break through is if you have a personal brand that people trust. And so one of the reasons that having a personal brand matters is because it creates attention, it creates trust, it creates integrity. And that allows you to tell your story in a way that can be heard. If you want to know another reason that personal brand matters, it goes back to old school, because people still buy from people they like, know, and trust. And look, we've heard about this since the beginning of time, right? But this has not gone away. And personal brand is the way that you give people the opportunity to like, know, and trust you. They need to know you. If you ever heard of Grant Cardone, he's an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a speaker, and he actually says, your biggest problem is that they don't know you. Like when you walk into a new prospect's office, or you reach out to them, or you call them, like if they know who you are, they pick up the phone. But so often the reason you aren't breaking through is because they don't know you. They don't know your personal brand. And that's one of the reasons that personal brand matters. And then the final reason I'm going to give you is the reality of it is it increases sales. But one of the ways it increases sales is people buy faster if they already know, like, and trust you. And what I mean by that is, if you've been in sales for any period of time, you know that one of the hardest parts of breaking through that new customer, that new prospect, or even if it's a warm lead, your customer leads you to somebody else in their organization, that other person still has to trust you. They still have to buy into what you are before they're going to buy into what you're selling. And if they are reaching out to you because they know you, because you have a personal brand, they believe that you are the expert in your field, well, then you've skipped the biggest and hardest step, in my opinion, which is building that trust. And so if they're reaching out to you, they've skipped that step, and they're going to buy faster and then more often from you, because your personal brand dictates that they should, right? You will have convinced them that you're the expert. You're convincing their boss that you're the expert, because you've got things out there that prove that. And that's why building a personal brand, or building your own brand, matters so, so very much. So that's great. You're buying into it and you say, okay, sure, I want to have a better personal brand, but how do you do it? So what I'm going to do is go through 5 steps. Like I said, I'm going to go through them very quickly, and I'm going to leave time for questions at the end. But 5 steps on how you can build a personal brand. Now, I do want to give a shout out. A big piece of this presentation was taken from the book Known by Mark Schaefer. Mark is a great speaker and a great author. And if you want to dig deeper into this topic, I would highly recommend that book. It's Known by Mark Schaefer. You can get the book or the audio book. Both are really good. So let's talk about the 5 steps that you need to take in order to build your personal brand. Ready? Let's go with step 1. Step 1 is to find a place. Now, what do I mean by that? The place is the thing that you want to be known for, right? So for many of us who are on this call, maybe you're in the promotional products industry, you might say, well, I want to be known for promotional products, or I want to be known in fitness world, or I want to be known for the cooking world, whatever. The problem with that challenge is that it's a really wide open space. In the promotional product space alone, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of folks who are doing a great job in our space. And so what you don't want to do is say, hey, look, there are over 25,000 distributors and I am one of them. So you really need to narrow. You need to narrow that space down. And so one of the ways to find a place where you can specifically be known is my hack for this is to combine 2 areas of interest, right? So you may want to be known as a promotional products wizard, and that's great, but that's hard because there's so many. But if you combine it with another area of interest, say fitness, say cooking, say hiking, whatever that is, then that's where you can really narrow the field. You can become known because you are combining 2 areas of interest together. Example, I'll give a shout out to Tim Hill. So Tim Hill, everybody who knows Tim knows he is absolutely all in on coffee, right? He loves his coffee. And now he's doing podcasting. And so he's podcasting and coffee, and he's got his Morning Matters. And so he's combined 2 loves and started to build a personal brand. And of course, he already had a lot of contacts in the promotional space. So he was able to combine those 2 things, and he's created a place that he can be known for. This is the thing that you can be known for. So an example of this is outside of our industry would be John Lee Dumas. John Lee Dumas is one of the most famous podcasters out there. So when he decided to create a podcast, he knew that there's already a bunch of people podcasting. There's already people who are podcasting in the business space. So how could he stand out? How could he break through? How could he create his place? Well, he decided that he couldn't get enough of podcasting, and there was no podcast in the entrepreneur space who did it every single day. So his place was to create an entrepreneur podcast where he interviewed entrepreneurs, but he did it every single day. And so that was his place. So the step 1 is to find your place. So your first piece of homework that I'm going to give you is, what is your place? Think through the thing you want to be known for, whether it's in business, whether it's in fitness, whether it's in cooking, whatever. It allows you to kind of create that thing that you can be known for. The example that I like to throw out there, and nobody's taken me up on it yet, is let's say that you are in the promotional product space, but you love cooking. I continue to believe that would be an interesting combination, that you say, all right, I want to be known as the chef of promotional products. And I'm going to create a YouTube show where once a week or twice a month, I'm going to do a new recipe, and I'm literally going to cook it on camera. I'm going to show it. And every piece that I use in there is going to be a promotional product from a different supplier in our industry. I think that could be done. I think it could be fun, and it could be a place that you are known for. So step 1 is to find your place. Step 2, find a space. Now, when I'm talking about space here, I mean, where do you want to create content? This is the piece where you say, okay, what do I love? What do I enjoy doing when it comes to content creation? If you're an introvert, maybe you like to write, right? You don't have to be an introvert to like to write, but maybe that's the place. I want to, I'm going to do blogs, and that's the space I'm going to live in. If you love doing video, I really like doing video. So that's where Delivering Marketing Joy came from. I'm like, I want to create a web show because I knew video. If you like to yammer on like I do sometimes, maybe you want to do a podcast, but you want to think through your space and the space that makes the most sense for your place, right? And if you can identify those 2, the rest of the steps get easier. So think through the space that you want to create content in, and you want to become known for? What's going to become most natural, and what's going to be the most fun and the most interesting to you? Because what I find is, as you head down this road, we want it to be easy, but over time it can become hard. And one of the best ways for you to keep going, one of the best ways for you to stick to it, is to pick something that you actually enjoy doing, enjoy talking about, enjoy creating. So when you are finding a space, pick one that you enjoy doing and you can see yourself doing long term. So my example here is Jeff Hayden. Now, Jeff Hayden, you may or may not know, he's a great writer, but he had an interesting challenge in that he was a ghostwriter. So he would write books on behalf of other sort of famous business folks. But the challenge is, how do you market yourself as a ghostwriter, right? Because you can't tell anybody the books that you've written. You have contracts that say you can't do that. And so he decided to write on a regular basis to build his personal brand. And he used LinkedIn and Inc.com. So he decided to write a article specifically targeted at entrepreneurs, because that was sort of his space or his place. And so he wrote an article every single day and through those places. And so he put that out every single day. And what happened is, obviously he got better, because it's just like any other skill. You do it every day, you figure out a better way to write headlines, and you get better at writing the copy. And then when finally, after 3 months of doing this, one kind of took off and went viral. Well, he already had a backlog of all these other articles that people could read and get to know him even further. And of course, he kept going. So he picked his place, and he picked his space. So step 3. Oh, excuse me. Before you move on, you've picked your place. Now it's time to pick your space. So as you're making notes through this, you want to decide, what is it I want to do? What kind of content do I want to create? What do I believe that I could do well and become known for? So you've picked your place, you've picked your space, and now we're moving on to step 3. So step 3 is one of the ones I talk about all the time. Brandon, who's listening in closely, can speak to this. Like, promo every day is the definition of consistent. If you want to build your personal brand, you need to create consistent content. Now, you get to decide to a degree what consistent means. Now, for several of the people who I've already mentioned, so John Lee Dumas is every day. Jeff Hayden is every day, right? They create content every single day. Well, maybe that seems completely daunting to you. Totally get it. But you get to choose. Is it a weekly piece of content? Is it twice a month? Is it monthly? You choose what that consistency is. You tell people when it's going to be published, and then you do it every single time. The moment you miss one, at least in my experience, the moment I miss one, man, that is when it's easier to miss the next one. What creating consistent content is, it does build that backlog. Like I talked about with Jeff Hayden, once people found him, they were easily able to find other stuff. So it does that. It creates accountability for me. When I know every Wednesday we're doing Delivering Marketing Joy. And if I don't have one, I get really antsy. I know it creates accountability for me, because I know people are going to be looking. And then the reality of it is, it creates an audience for you. People know to look for you. They know to find you, and they know how to share your content with other people, the other people who might be interested in. And the way to do that is to show up in a regular basis. So for me, the one that I first started with was Delivering Marketing Joy. That's the first piece of content that I've done that I'm still doing. And we're at 340 some episodes in at this point, every single Wednesday. And that is what sort of helped elevate my personal brand in the industry, because I kept showing up, not because I was the best or the smartest or most interesting. Certainly none of those are true. But the idea that I kept showing up is what differentiated me from probably hundreds, if not thousands, of other people who have started content journeys along the way, is I kept going and they did not. So step 3, once you found your place, then you found your space, and then you keep showing up. You create consistent content. That's step 3. My example of this is Nick Latour. He's a good guy in our industry. And, it doesn't always have to be some like ginormous piece of production, right? Nick started to be known in our industry by creating these little memes, these pictures where he would be looking off into the distance on Mondays. And I love this graphic because he started it I think Nick would tell you he didn't know that he was creating something that was going to become a phenomenon when he started it, but he just kept showing up. This one is 70 Mondays in a row. I know he kept going after this, but he became known because of this fun picture on a Monday, and he showed up over and over again. So what's your schedule? That's the thing to decide. You've decided your place, you've decided your space. Now, how often are you going to put it up? So put it someplace, commit to it, keep doing it. That's step 3. Next up, we're up to step 4. We're cruising along, okay? So next is to build a meaningful audience. Now that may sound like, well, okay, how do I do that? We'll dig into it. So number 1, you're putting content out there on a consistent basis. I think the number 1 way to build a meaningful audience is to engage with it. It is amazing to me how many people put out content of any kind and they get all these comments and then they don't engage with it. One of the, social media, sometimes we focus too much on the media and not enough on the social. There are things that you can't scale in this sort of place that are still really important. I was actually talking to Ali Brunton just the other day, and the algorithm for Facebook and Instagram are really starting to weigh heavily on those things that you can't schedule. They are the things that are manual activities that you go in and you actively engage with your audience. That's how you build a meaningful audience. That's how you build a relationship, right? In the 3-dimensional world, why would that not be the case when you're dealing in sort of the content, the social media world? So if you want to create a personal brand, spend the time to build a meaningful audience. And from my perspective, that means to engage with them. So spend the time to build a meaningful audience. I think I have a second to do this. So I'm going to talk about Gary Vaynerchuk, who I mentioned at the beginning. He talks about it being the power of the wink. Okay. And so he said that when he was a kid, he got a chance to go to see a baseball game, and Ricky Henderson was in center field, and he was sitting close. A young Gary Vaynerchuk was sitting down. Ricky runs by in the change of innings, looks at Gary and winks at him. And he said, there was such power in that wink. Suddenly I became a Ricky Henderson fan because he noticed me, because he acknowledged I existed. And then for years, he became this Ricky Henderson fan. You have the ability to build that kind of meaningful relationship with your audience if you engage, if you take part in the power of the wink. All right, final step, be patient. Man, oh man. I love this thing where it's not about going viral, it's about creating value. So you have created your place, you've created your space, you are creating consistent content. But so many people are like, well, I'm going to give it a month. I'm going to give it 6 weeks. I'm going to give it whatever. You absolutely have to be patient. The quick story, I was probably 20 episodes in on Delivering Marketing Joy when I had the chance to chat with Seth Godin. And Seth was incredibly kind. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, hey, I've seen your Delivering Marketing Joy. And right away that stopped me, because I couldn't believe he'd seen it. But he said, hey, keep going. In 3 years, you'll be glad you did. Now, 3 years was unheard of. I'd done 20 episodes. I thought I'd succeeded. And I'll tell you, I didn't have the next week's episode done at that point. I was questioning whether I wanted to keep going. And that level of encouragement kept me going. And then Seth ended up being a guest on episode 100. Be patient. We want these overnight success. We want Amazon results. We want microwave results, whatever you want to call it, whatever analogy I can come up with. We have to be patient. If you want to build a personal brand, it's about consistently showing up over time. And so you need to ask yourself, how long am I willing to give it? How long am I committed? How committed am I to really building my personal brand or my organization's brand? Because content marketing is brand marketing. It's not direct marketing. You have to spend the time and not focus purely on the ROI, especially in the short term. You have to keep showing up. So those are your 5 steps. Find your place, find your space, create consistent content, engage with that audience, and then be patient. Those are the 5 steps to creating a personal brand. Now, I want to say one of the things that has struck me when I think about the people that I admire, and on the screen are Seth Godin, I mentioned him, Gary Vaynerchuk, and then Casey Neistat in the middle. These are folks who did things that were unreasonable, right? Gary Vaynerchuk did 1,000 episodes of Wine Library TV. Then he hired a group of people to follow him around and video him. Casey Neistat did a daily vlog, high quality vlog for many, gosh, I don't even remember the number of episodes at this point. And then Seth Godin has been writing a daily blog for like 9 years, every single day, weekends, doesn't matter. To a degree, I think sometimes we have that voice in our head that says, oh, that's unreasonable. That's unreasonable. But these are all the people in front of you that are thought leaders in their respective spaces. They are people that people go to ask how to do things the right way. They get consulting, they get speaking, all that sort of thing, because they were fairly unreasonable. They did things that most people were unwilling to do. And I think if you want to build a personal brand, that is something to consider when you get ready to head down that road. So thank you so much for taking the time. I've got this project I'm working on, Better Business University. You can check it out at bbu.com or betterbusinessu.com.
No, so yeah, that is awesome, man. I actually, it's kind of funny. So Javier Melendez and I actually talk about this particular presentation you just gave as the jump off point that made him want to jump into social media and do more stuff day in and day out. That's when I actually met him, was I think it was 2018 or 19 when you spoke and did this one. And that was awesome. That's where him and I kind of jumped off and created our relationship on social media. But I also want to thank Mickey, Meg, Alan, Jessica, thank you so much for engaging out here. Thank you so much for everybody else who is watching. If you do have any questions for Kirby, you can always throw them in the comment section, whether you're catching this just now and you're going to go back and rewatch it. We will do our best to make sure that he gets those questions over there. I do have one question for you, because I think, like I said, you've done this presentation now for a couple of years, but there's a new platform out there that is super fast to go viral. TikTok. You can have one video and then that's what you're known for. So you talk about Nick Latour and how he not necessarily doing it intentionally, but just posted that one head turn picture, and now that's what he's known for.
Sure.
What happens if you're known for something that you don't want to be known for?
Yeah, no, that's fair. You know, but again, I think that's where consistency matters, right? Because obviously, let's use Nick as the example. He clearly decided, okay, this is something I want to do, because he did it for 70 weeks in a row and then some. Like on the idea of TikTok, dude, TikTok's fascinating. My kids that's their playground right now. And I think when a platform is new and kind of emerging, you really do, as an early adopter, have the opportunity to become viral quicker, because everybody's attention is in one place. There's just fewer creators, right? But I think if you want to become known for something more than that, the concepts are the same, right? It is about picking the space, the place, and then creating it consistently. I think what's interesting to me, and again, I want to give shout out to Mark Schaefer, who wrote the book. When I read it, he kind of lays out the things, and I'm like, it's too simple. Right? It's it can't be that simple. And then as you dig into it, you're like, oh my God, every single person who I follow has done this one way or another. And not intentionally. They didn't follow Mark's process. Quite contrary. He reverse engineered it and went, what did they do? They did these things, right? Casey Neistat, he's doing video. He's in New York. He was early to the vlogging scene too. But the point is, they were consistent. They engaged with their audience. They were patient over time. And so I think the same is true. Let's say you create a TikTok video for being an idiot and falling off a chair while you're drunk. P.S. There's a lot of TikTok videos with that. But if you want to become known for something else, show up consistently doing something else, right?
I love it. And that's what I think a lot of these early, younger creators, like there's this one guy that I follow that he's known for making this really weird face and wearing this super tight orange suit. And like, he's done with it. He's burnt out. He doesn't want to do it anymore. So he literally made like 7 or 8 transition TikToks where he talks about him falling out of love with the orange suit. And now he may have lost some followers, but his main audience is still there. And he's
Right.
rebranded himself as somebody completely different.
Yeah. And I think that that's the thing. If you, and I didn't mention this, but I think that you will, I'll be curious to get your take on this. But I think I was talking to somebody about this yesterday, and they were actually doing a friend of ours is doing Miss Ohio, and they're going through it. And her father said, when she just was herself, that was when she did the best. Right. And I think in today's world, while you want to be intentional about what you do, the easier it is to be consistent, the easier it is to be long-term, the engage with your is being you. Mm-hmm. Now, do you want to make it fun and do, try and maybe take the personality up a notch, whatever, just to make it more entertaining? Sure. But being you is a lot less exhausting.
You don't have to try very hard.
I don't have to try that hard.
When you're yourself, you don't have to try very hard. And that's awesome.
I heard a statement one time. They said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Man, I wish I would have followed that when I was younger.
You and me both, brother.
All right. That is awesome. Thank you so much, Kirby, for taking time out of your day and giving this. This is literally a $100 per seat presentation. So thank you so much for sitting down and doing this today with us here on Express Training Bites, man.
Dude, always appreciate it. Thanks for asking me, man. It's fun.
Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much. We will see you next Thursday.